I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, January the 30th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a bold, straight-shooting tulathromycin that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and for your bottom line, with no BS. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards only expecting about 3,500 head for this Monday's regular sale. They're going to sleep in and have banker's hours, not even going to start till 8 o'clock in the morning, which is almost unheard of for them. You know, there's just fewer cattle to sell in the southern plains, and they sold so many cattle most of the first month here, the new year, and just basically got them pretty much cleaned up. So not a lot of cattle left to sell. They do have a cow and bull special sale scheduled for next Wednesday, February the 8th, which will be at 4:30 in the afternoon. All eyes on the inventory report here to start this week. Tuesday, tomorrow, the 31st of January, the USDA inventory report will be released, and you know how the USDA loves to put a cover over something and then pull it back and see how the industry responds to it. But this only happens twice a year. It happens, the semi-annual report comes out in July, and then they have the annual report in January. But you know, even the town drunk knows that we've got lighter numbers of cattle around. So this is the one that will give you the total number of cattle and calves, your beef cow herd, your calf crop, things like that. But the average of the analysts, which is not maybe as highly publicized or maybe as important as it is on the monthly cattle and feed report, because I mean this is just straight up facts. You know, on how many cattle we have, but that we still get Erner Berry's analysts, or three of them, that give us what they think, and they study this stuff and they know. But my gosh, they're so aggressive on their guesses, which, you know, like I said, everybody knows that we're tight on supplies, and they're expecting it to be really tight. I mean, lower than it was even at the peak of tightness in 2014, whenever we had all-time record prices. We're just now at the beginning of these tight numbers. We're not at the apex of the tight numbers like we were in 2014. We're like where they were in 2012. I mean, this is going to get tighter yet. It's going to be tighter next year than it is right now. But they've already got us expecting down 4.2% on the beef herd compared to a year ago, which was when we really started getting tighter numbers. But that would be, which it doesn't really matter what it is, nobody really keeps track of that, but 28.860 million head, so I'll be just less than 29 million head of beef cows. That would be 8.9% fewer than just 4 years ago. But like I said, I don't think we're at the you know, the tightest part yet, like we were in 2014. I think next year will be even tighter yet, because we haven't kept any heifers back. We've been feeding all the heifers, and we've sold so many cows due to drought and so many major production areas. But it's going to be lower. I would think it would be somewhere around 3.7 or 3.8. Just because I like to stick to the averages, knowing how the government works. But you know, the way the government does that is through surveys, and then a kind of a culmination of that, number of cows that we've slaughtered, number of calves that we're seeing around, and all that kind of thing. But being USDA, they love to stick close to the averages. But if it comes out like what those analysts think it would be, that would be the lowest beef cow herd number ever recorded. Think about that for a little bit. And then you think about the calf crop. So in the July report, they come out with what they expected the 2022 calf crop to be, and they said that it was going to be down 1.4%. Well, we knew that wasn't enough, if you remember that, but that was the real report that came out, not the estimates. But so that was what the USDA thought in July, is that our 2022 calf crop was going to be down 1.4%. Well, we're expecting them to revise that and pull it down even more, which will help the argument for fewer in total numbers. But now we're thinking that the 2023 calf crop is going to be down 1 million head compared to the already lower 2022 calf crop, down another 2.8%. So, I mean, we're really getting tight on numbers. These things may not make a lot of difference to you in your everyday life, but it's a big, big difference to those funds, those people that study the numbers and things like that like to invest in your futures market and things like that. So it's going to be a big shot in the arm to our cattle market for people especially outside the industry. But you look at the board for last week, February live cattle futures, Monday was up 85 cents, Tuesday was up 37 cents, Wednesday was down a quarter, Thursday was down 87, Friday was unchanged. February live cattle ended the week at 156.72. That was up 10 cents for the week. April ended the week at 160.82, up 90 cents. March feeder cattle, because January went off the board at the end of Thursday, they're at 179.57. So now we're on to March feeder cattle. Monday was up 2.30. Tuesday was up 32. Wednesday was up 15. Thursday was down 90 cents, and Friday was up 62 cents, with March feeder cattle ending the week up $2.50 for the week at 183.47. April ended the week at 187.55. You see how those are getting progressively higher, and they do all the way throughout all your traded months. Corn, Chicago Board of Trade March corn, 6.83 at the end of the week. That was up 6 3/4 cents for the week. Beans ended the week at 15.09.5, up 3 cents. After all that volatility that we saw last week on the beans, only up 3 cents for the week. Your fat cattle trade, through Thursday, they had only sold 30,700 head negotiated in your 5-area feeding region, after having a week's total the previous week, of less than 50,000. So, they're letting themselves get extremely short bought, but guys aren't taking advantage of it near enough. We had a little bit of trade on Friday, but I think we're going to see a significant number of cattle turned in late Friday, because they didn't start seeing the trade in the Southern Plains really break loose until midday on Friday, and then they only have till 2 o'clock to get this information in. So I think we'll see a lot more cattle traded that would come in for our week's wrap-up whenever we give you that on tomorrow's feeder flash. But through Thursday, on just the 30,700 head, live sales of fat steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region, 152 to 157, down $1 on your spread. Weighted average on live steers, 153.84, down $1.25, but that's going to be a little bit better because we had significant trade in the Southern Plains at 156 on Friday. Dress sales, 245 to 248. That was up 2 cents on the bottom side of the spread and down 3 on the top. But your weighted average on dress steers last week, 247.72. That was down about a quarter. That's not expected to move much because we didn't see much more trade in the Northern Plains. But on Friday, of course, we didn't get to see what Colorado did because we only have really one packer participating in there. We really need 3 to get any information out of there. Iowa, 1,600 head confirmed on Friday, 16,700 head for the week. That's about half what they would do on a typical week. Live sales, 155 to 156, which, even though that doesn't sound great, that's the highest live prices we had in the Northern Plains, really, was on Friday. And I told you last week one day that the guys that hold out the longest to trade, the guys that are most stubborn to trade, nearly always get the highest prices, and that's what happened in Iowa. We had a lot of guys taking 152 and 153 last week on muddy cattle, but don't think that those cattle that traded at 155 and 156 were all in a feeding barn. There were some muddy cattle on those too. Nebraska, 500 head on Friday, 16,000 for the week. No live sales reported on Friday. Dress sales from 247 to 248. That was as good as we had all week. Kansas had just started trading when they turned in the information. Only 200 turned in. Only 400 head for the week up until 2 o'clock on Friday. Is that something? But at 156. But we did see the gate swing at 156, which is a buck better than they got the previous week, if you remember. And now that erases the premium that the Northern Plains has been getting compared to the Southern Plains on fats, because the Northern Plains cattle are so muddy right now. Texas, about 550 head on Friday. That's all the cattle they had sold all week up until 2 o'clock. But, you know, I'm sure there's going to be several thousand trade, but we'll find out here when we get the information Monday afternoon. But 156 in Texas also. So, you know, there was some positive notes in your fat cattle trade last week. Box beef cutout values sharply lower last week. Your weighted average on all of last week's trades. Choice cuts 269.17, down $5.11. Late Friday afternoon, your late trade was even $1.50 or so cheaper than your weighted average of all of last week, ending the week at 267.76. Selects, all of last week's trade, the weighted average was 250.214, down 327 compared to the previous week. And your late week sales were also about $1.50 cheaper at 250.54. So rough week for your box beef cutout values, but that's seasonal. That's this time of year. Your choice select spread on the weighted average was $17.03. That's based on 612 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day, or ending the week actually, ended the week at 179.29. That was up $3.74 compared to the end of the previous week. So we saw the bottom fall out of the market, not last week, but the week before, whenever we had the worst of the storms come through. And then last week we gained all that back, at least on your index value there, because the 374 change going up was more than what we lost the previous week for the week. So that was good. We gained most of that back. We thought the world was coming to an end right when it ought to be getting the best, and now things have kind of shored up here with extremely tight numbers of cattle in the Southern Plains to sell. You know, I told you guys one day last week that I expected way up cows here within the next few months to be bringing $1.30, and that we'd wake up one Monday morning and Oklahoma City would only have 2,500 head. Now I know a lot of you guys went, ha! Yeah, right. Well, Oklahoma City had less than 2,600 head in overnight. I would be surprised if they have 3,000 head of cattle on Monday here. But talk about your market for last week. Your cash feeders and your sale barns steady to $5 higher. Just not many cattle at all in the Southern Plains to sell. They sold all of them. There's no place to have them. And then once you put them in one of those backgrounding yards, especially in the Southern Plains, you don't see them come back to market as often as you do in the Northern Plains, because the Southern Plains lots just don't really like to feed them. It's been heavily backgrounded. So there's just not many cattle to sell in the Southern Plains. Northern Plains, they're selling their cattle right now. This is their busy time, has been all January, and they're still selling cattle. And they've had such terrible weather, they've marketed their cattle pretty aggressively. And then whenever they run out, then we're going to be out of feeders anyway. But like I said, not many big sales to talk about at all in the Southern Plains. Your Zoetta stick-out sale late last week or over the weekend was in Burwell, Nebraska on Friday. That 5,900 head, good sale for them. compared to their previous sale, which was 2 weeks before. Market was mostly steady, and so that gives you that up and down that we saw the last 2 weeks, and now we're kind of back to where we were. But you look at this automated market report from Burwell Livestock, DV auction customer there, you see your best tested weights, 874 head of 5-weight steer calves, average 552 with a weighted average price of $217.48. 1,022 head of 6-weight steer calves in Burwell, average 646, weighted average price $196.88. 1,172 head of 7-weight steer calves, average $749, weighted average price $187.88. Look at some heifers. 716 head of 5-weight heifer calves, average $555, weighted average price $189.72. And 691 head of 6-weight heifers in Burwell, Nebraska, average $647, weighted average price $173.17. I have to tell you about the bred cow special and heifer special that they had at Interstate Regional Stockyards near Cuba, Missouri. They're a DV auction customer, really good people there, do a lot of business online there. And they had a humdinger on Saturday there near Cuba, Missouri. It breaks out whenever things like this start. It breaks out in certain spots, and I've heard of certain spots where they've had some small replacement sales that jumped up really high. Well, it happened in south central Missouri there, and on Saturday they had about 150 top quality bred heifers there. Those bred heifers averaged around $2,300 per head. The young bred cows that they had on hand, top quality ones, bringing from $2,300 to $2,400. And then they had an offering of pairs, pretty good kind, not a lot of them, but they did see pairs bred back with some nice calves on them, bringing around $3,500. A little up, up and down from there, and then an 8-head offering in there, so at $4,000 per pair. So start getting ready for things like that to happen. Now that these numbers, it's apparent that we were out of them, but it got really dry in southern Missouri last summer. People had to sell a lot of their cattle and get rid of them. They're getting some moisture here over the winter, and they're getting pretty excited about this spring that's coming up. Give you some more stick out feeder sales. Mankato Livestock in Mankato, Kansas there. Neil sold 99 head of 909-pound steers. They bring $178.50. Dunlap Livestock Auction in Dunlap, Iowa sells 83 steers, weigh 732 at $194.50. Burwell Livestock Market, which was our stick-out sale of the late week, sold 91 head of 515-pound steer calves at $239.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw late last week or over the weekend, your Mackerson No BS top quote for the day, come out of Winter Livestock Auction in Winter, South Dakota. That's where I told you they've had so much snow. I've heard up and over 80 inches here this winter already. It's took down some feeding barns there because of the weight of the snow. Some places just had to move their cattle out of their lots because it was just impossible to feed them anymore. Had to find a place to feed those cattle somewhere else. But they're going again there at Winter Livestock Auction. Had about 2,700 feeders there on Friday, and they sold 71 head, 846-pound steers at $189.50. That's your feeder flash for Monday.